All right, we're here today for a Veterans History Project interview with Mr. Keith Muntz. This interview is taking place in Greenfield, Illinois on December the 28th, 2021. Mr. Muntz served in Company F, the 377th Regiment of the 95th Infantry Division, and he fought in Europe and was a POW during the war. So I'll just start and ask you, where were you when you heard about Pearl Harbor, Mr. Muntz, and how did that affect you?
That day was on a Sunday, I know, and I was in Whitehall, and they said they bombed Pearl Harbor. Well, I didn't ever even knew where Pearl Harbor was back then, you know. But then, of course, they dropped a bomb on a Sunday, and that didn't shake them up quite, you know, they didn't give up right quick. So they dropped the second one, and I understand that they only had 2 bombs made then. The second one was on the 9th, on about a Thursday it was, and then they decided to quit. And
that's the atomic bomb, right?
Yeah.
That you're talking about?
The atomic bomb was what, if we had the atomic bomb, it was a terrible thing to do, but it's probably saved millions of lives, because the Japs, they just wouldn't have give up. They would have fought till they died, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
so when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, though, were you? Did it make you angry?
And no, see, I wasn't even in yet at that time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I went in back in. I know I got it on there, but when I was I getting kind of forgetful on some of that stuff, but.
I'm looking at your
I wrote that
here.
back when I could remember. I'm kind of slipping now, you know.
That's okay. That's okay. We're all getting older, you know. So so after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, did you enlist in the military, or were you drafted into the Army?
I was drafted in the Army.
Uh-huh.
I was one of the first. They had been taking them about 21 years old, and my group, I was in the first group that lowered the age to 19, and I was one of the guys that first one out of Greene County at 19.
Really?
Yeah.
So were you happy with being chosen to go in the Army? Were you happy with that? Were you?
Well, yeah, I knew I was going to have to go sometime or another.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
And I got one more thing. You had, whenever they drafted you in, they give you a week to go home and take care of any business or something like that. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't have no business, so whenever they draft me in, I went down to Texas there, camp. I went down there to my basic training, and
mm-hmm.
I started in basic training, and
yeah,
I was with that company all the way through till I got back and got captured, and
yeah,
So
whenever you were in your training for the Army, were you an infantryman?
Infantry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we had to walk a lot, yeah.
So were you in?
But I was used to that.
Yeah, were you?
I was raised on a farm. My legs were strong, never had any problem, and so I was lucky. And you read that. A lot of the boys that came out of the city and had never worked very much, they just could hardly take it, you know.
I'm sure.
And I've helped carry two other guys. I've carried 2 guns at one time going on marches back in there.
Really?
Because those poor guys, they shouldn't have been in there. And at 37, they supposed to let them out. You know, I mean, when they first started, they got up to 37. This one man, he, I don't know how come they kept him. I think they let him out pretty quick, but those older people, after they let them out, and
so he was 37. There was a 37-year-old man in your group. Is that, you were saying 37? Is that the age of one of the soldiers?
Oh yeah.
So you were saying 37. Was that how old the soldier was?
37 years old.
37?
That was when they first started. That was as old as they could take them. You know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they just more men they needed. They just kept lowering the age, see, and I got down to me. I was 19, so
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So were you married when you went overseas?
No, I was single.
You were single? Okay.
Yeah, we lived on a farm out east of Berdan out here, west of us there. That's I farmed all my life, you know, and I got out, and my dad had the farm, and he was getting some age on him, and he was glad to see me come home and help. I started doing the work, you know.
Yeah. So,
but then we lived there then until we built on this house. This is the old part of the house there, and I had a cousin here. He never was married, and so he was good to us.
Mm-hmm. So whenever you finished your training, your basic training, you went overseas?
Yeah.
And
yeah, it tells in there that August. That pretty well tells my stories, yeah.
So it looks like you left...
August, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. August 9th of 1944?
Yeah, that's when we went from... they took us across the country. I was on. In the wintertime, first winter, we was lucky. They took us out to California. Had a big tent city out there. That's where they trained everybody out there. But it was nice. At least it wasn't cold in the wintertime, you know.
Yeah.
So then after the winter was over, the spring started to come. Well, I think it was February. Pretty sure it was. They took us clean, a whole company, whole division, clean across the road over towards Massachusetts, and that's how we got that's where we left down to Boston. Just about dark. Just about dark when they took off in that big boat. That big boat had over 3,000 people on it, you know.
Wow.
And if they'd ever sunk that, they'd been, the Germans would play around that port up there at Massachusetts and try to get them. Mm-hmm. But they finally put a stop to that, and then if I'd have been in, maybe 6 months or a year ahead, I probably wouldn't have been here, you know.
Mm-hmm. So when you went from California to Boston,
on a train,
was it
that's
really
about
crowded?
All we had. That was come on a train, yeah.
Was it really crowded? The train really crowded? Was the train really full, crowded with people?
Yeah, it was full, I guess.
Yeah. I've heard people talk about how they'd be so full that they had to stand the whole way across the country.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Well, I don't think we had to stand, but boy, it was. I got a thick book of all my Army travels in there. I guess I should have had that in here.
Oh, that's okay.
But a thick book took. I didn't have a camera, but I had a buddy. He had a camera, and he'd take every place we go in. He'd get out there and snapshot, and he'd make me one too. So I got a nice book full of pictures of where we were at and everything like that. So
yeah.
So
you left Boston on the USS West Point?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
We left Boston. We got well, that's where we went out on the ship there. Okay. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get over to England? A week. Really?
Yeah, it'll tell you in my story.
Did you have to zigzag? Did they on the ship? Did they change course a lot to avoid submarines?
I guess they did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we was pretty safe, and But before that, the little ships they had to have before they kind of got those Germans under control. They'd have to have escorts, to escort them, or they'd sunk them before they even got about in the ocean, But they had, when I went over, they didn't have to worry much about him, Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever getting sick or anything, going over, but
a lot of guys did get sick.
Oh yeah, a lot of guys couldn't take it,
Mm-hmm. So when you arrived in England, you were in Liverpool, is that correct?
Liverpool, that's where we went to come in the backside of England, see, the big, London was down, and they'd been a bombing, those Germans had just almost rode that town to nothing.
Wow.
Poor people, run them out, they just blow them, burn them, they'd bomb them and they get on fire and burnt their homes and no place to go. It was terrible for those English people. I'll tell you, they went through hell on earth.
And that was 4 years later, because I think when you arrived, it was 4 years after the Battle of Britain. So it's amazing that they still had all that damage.
Yeah. I wrote it down while I could pretty much think, and I could remember and I can remember just like it was yesterday, in my mind.
Sure.
Some of that stuff makes an impression on you.
So when you were in training, did you always know you were going to go to Europe, or did you think you'd have to go to the Pacific?
Well, I didn't know at the time, but I was hoping we'd go to Germany, because Japan was worse, because they would kill a lot of people, and I was thankful that I went to Germany. That's where my family all came from years ago. I was German, and
so when you crossed the Channel to Europe, you came on to Omaha Beach. Is that where you came across in September of '44? It says that you landed at Omaha Beach.
After the invasion, sure.
Okay.
And after you saw that, how the Germans had that quite a while, and they had such. You wonder how anybody invaded that, big, and they made the ones they captured, they made them do the work, and I imagine that was terrible. But they when we went in, it still had the big posts, barbed wire, and just everything you could think of. But of course, it had already been invaded, so all we had to do was walk in, you know. Mm-hmm. So we had it pretty easy compared to, you know, and up on the mount, kind of like a great big bank up on the there, and those they had guns up in on the. Up on the kind of almost like a mountain, you know.
Yeah.
And whenever when the Americans would bomb, the Americans would bomb with airplanes all along that big mountain. But then after they quit bombing, here they'd come out and then start shooting and kill them, you know. So they just couldn't. They just couldn't keep them from. And it's just like taking like shooting ducks out there, you know.
Sure.
That's what they were, shooting ducks. And so, but I was just lucky that my division didn't have to go over for quite a while. We were in brand new division, and it tells you the whole story there, and
Sure. So when you got into France, when you were in France, you went. Looks like you went over to Paris. Is that right? Did you go through Paris?
Well, you had a clerk. Each company had a clerk that did all the business and passes and go to town and stuff. And I was pretty lucky. I don't know where he liked me. Anyway, but I turned out. I got the first pass in the company to go. And in the same way, I got to go to London.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I always treated him real nice, you know. And he had a lot of responsibility. He almost run that company, you know, far as business is concerned.
So it pays to be a nice guy, doesn't it?
Right. You never get too many friends.
That's right.
Never get too many friends.
Okay, so where did you first start fighting? Where at, roughly? Do you know where you were?
Well, I wasn't in the. I wasn't in the battlefield that long, but it was. Let's see now. When our first battle over there, and it was in pretty. They was trying to take Metz.
Metz, okay.
You know, remember that Metz, and that was a hard thing to do. They had to surround it, and Metz was on a river too, you know, and.
Was that considered the Battle of the Hurtgen Forest?
Huh?
Was that near the Hurtgen Forest?
That was 1945, yeah.
I know that right before the Battle of the Bulge in December, there was a battle called the Battle of the Hurtgen.
Yeah, Battle of the Bulge.
And that was over in this region. So
I think we were already captured. You have to read that. Yeah,
okay.
But,
okay. So can you tell me what happened whenever you were fighting there? Like what events happened to you while you were in action and while you were fighting?
Well, see, the Germans they were up on this big hill, like, and they had an advantage. They knew where, they had advantage because they knew they's all dug in, had holes that dug in, and just pretty safe. You couldn't stand down here and shoot them up there. You know, I mean, you couldn't hit them, but. I was lucky that the way it all turned out.
Mm-hmm. So whenever you were fighting, how did you get captured? What happened?
When I got captured, we were trying to take this place over around Metz, trying to get it up on this hill, and one of my buddies got shot. He got shot in the stomach with a Germans shot him, and he just passed out. He didn't know anything. So I don't know, to this day, I don't know who told us, but that they sent 5 of us, 4 guys to carry that, had the old homemade stretcher on, made out of poles and things, and then one guy was carrying the guns. Mm-hmm. Well, we was just about. We was going back to, they said, take him back to the American CP. That's where they took care of people, you know. And I don't know to this day who told me where to go. I was in charge of that squad at that time, and so instead of when we started back, by God, them suckers slipped up behind us. One guy had all the guns and couldn't do nothing about it. Is either give up or get killed, you know. Mm-hmm. And so instead of taking him back to the American CP, we had to take him back and turn him over to the Germans. And that's how he got. Mm-hmm. And we thought he lived out in Arizona, and no, he didn't. I'll take it back. He lived in Ohio at that time when he first went in. Big strapping. Oh, he'd weigh 240 or 50 pounds. Big strapping farm boy, you know. But whenever he was just helpless, and when we had to turn him over to the Germans, we thought, boy, he'll just plug him and get rid of him, you know. But they didn't. There's a lot of nuns worked at a hospital over there, and they went from about 135 or 40 pounds down to 90 pounds. And they took care of him in that hospital all winter. Next spring, of course, when they started bringing people home, they got him and took him to back to out east there, and got him in a hospital. Took about 2 years to get him straightened up.
But he survived.
Yeah,
wow.
He did.
Great.
And he never forgot it.
Yeah. That's amazing that
he
survived.
never forgot it. He just like my brother.
Yeah. Well, I bet you have to feel great.
Uh-huh.
You have to feel great that you were able to help him and help save a life.
Yeah.
You know.
So
when
and he and his wife, when he got older, he had to leave up in Ohio because the weather got too cold for him. He had to go out there
to Arizona.
And live. He started up a gas filling station. He's a smart guy.
What's his name? What was his name? What was his name?
Larry Stroller.
Larry Strawler?
Larry Stroller.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were captured, how did the Germans treat you?
Yeah, I can't say I was mistreated, but you had to. You didn't want to backtalk or nothing, you know. You keep your mouth shut, and I can't say they mistreated me. They put us up. Well, of course, when the Russians started to come in on them, you know, they started moving us back towards the German line. See, we was pretty close there to the Russians, and the Russians started to come. That hadn't been for the Russians, I don't think we'd ever whipped them, you know.
Do you remember what camp you were in? What stalag were you in?
Huh?
Do you remember what prisoner of war camp that you were in? Do you remember the name of the camp?
The name of the camp that you were in.
Oh, yeah, it's in there.
Okay.
It's all in there.
Okay, so Stalag 12A, was that one of them here?
It was pretty close to.
Limburg?
It was pretty close to. It was pretty close to the line between Germany and Russia.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So
They marched.
Close to the
really?
Oder River.
the Oder?
Yeah,
okay.
And
I see.
and
yes.
I think a river separated the two countries about there, and that I'm sure that's right.
So what did they feed you? How did you how much food did they give you? Did you eat very good? Did you eat well while you were a prisoner?
No, you didn't eat well. Both we existed, but we had back then. About all we got was soup, and that's about all the German soldiers got too, and maybe a little black bread, and but I mean, I guarantee you wouldn't get heavy on what they fed you, but it just sustained us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing I want to tell you. When they put us in these POW camps, they always had guards around, and they was old men. Probably, I'll bet they looked like they 65 or 70 years old. Poor old guys. Made them get out there of a night. They had to walk all around them, you know. And I thought that was a terrible thing. Those old men about ready to die, but they made them get out there, and that was every night. And it wasn't a morning that we didn't get up and take reveille, because they thought, say, maybe some guy got away, you know. And I got where they took our boots away from them, and the heavy socks, and give them to the Germans. And so I got in the habit of turning my feet like that so they wouldn't be quite as cold, you know. I got a habit of that. It took me a long time to get over that. And but I felt so sorry. The old Germans, if I smoke. I never smoked a cigarette in my life, but my buddy that was with me. I had a buddy from Chicago that was with me the entire deal. He went through the same thing I did, and so he smoked cigarettes, and I've seen him. I would get mine and divide with him, you know, because I didn't smoke, and But I've seen him turn down food for cigarettes, you know.
Wow.
But when we slept together, the old wooden bunks too high, you know, and we'd always get on top because some of the guys that was in there, that was later on, I guess, yeah. But anyway, when we get up in that, two of us in that darn little old bunk up there, try to keep warm at night, you know, and we just like brothers, you know.
So when you had no shoes or socks, and when you had no shoes or socks, no boots or socks,
we just had shoes, regular shoes and socks, I think, then when I was in there.
But you said you had to turn your feet up.
I got in the habit of turning my feet, so all my feet wouldn't be on the cold ground, see.
But
it worked a little bit.
Were you barefoot on the cold ground?
Huh?
Were you barefoot on the cold ground?
No, I don't think I was barefooted,
okay.
But they took all of our boots and heavy coat, overcoats. You know, even if I'd had an overcoat, it would help. But they took all that and give their own people. See, they could just do what they wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah. In your barracks, did you have any heat at all?
Huh?
In the barracks where you slept, was there a stove or any heater in your barracks?
In the German, when you were captured, did you have heat? Did you
What?
have heat? Did they have a stove in your, when you were captured, did you have a stove?
In your barracks?
He's not understanding.
Okay.
I have a trouble there.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
So you were cold every night while you slept?
Well, yeah, that's the reason we slept together.
Yeah.
But I forgot what we had to cover up with, but I mean, you'd be surprised, just the heat a little bit. Well, there wasn't much heat there, but anyway, that's all. We had to sleep up there, you know. Either that or on the floor, whichever you take your pick.
Wow.
That was 6 months. That was a long time, but good Lord, you got me through it. And you know, I remember when they came in and said the President of the United States had died. It was on the 14th. I know it was on the 14th. It's in the book there. 14th of well, I was in there, and we didn't know for sure Truman what he would do, you know, whether he'd. But he turned out that they was working on the atomic bomb then. Nobody knew it. They made 2 atomic bombs, I understand, and the first one didn't shake them up, but the second one they quit. So that's what saved us, you know.
So when they moved your camp because the Russians were coming.
After we come in, yeah, I remember the Russians coming in and visiting. You know, I mean, they just. I remember them coming in, and we all, of course, we couldn't talk. If you did, I had one guy who was lucky. I had one guy, he could talk Russian and Italian.
Wow.
And he was our old buddy, and by golly, you know, he could, whatever they said, he understood it.
Really?
we was turned out lucky there. There's about 4 or 5 of us stuck together, and he was a good old guy. I think he was a bachelor, but anyway, if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have knew so much what was going on, you know. But he,
I think they just
good old guy.
and the Germans
Yeah.
took off.
It seemed like the good Lord just taking care of me.
So when the Russians came into camp, what did the German soldiers do? When the Russians came in,
they got out of there. Yeah. Well, I guess they captured them. Say the Russians caught them. But a lot of them knew they was coming, and a lot of them got out skidooed for they caught them, because the Russians wouldn't take prisoners; they'd kill them.
So
Yeah.
when were you able to leave the camp and go back to the Americans?
What's that now?
When were you able to leave the POW camp and go back to the American lines?
All the guys that got released. They had a plane over in part of Germany. They would take it whenever the Russians came. They just kept pushing us back toward Germany, and back through there. And I don't know if they had resisted and didn't want to go, they'd have shot them, you know. So when we was on the march coming back, they would every once in a while you'd hear a pop. So I don't know whether they shot them or not, but we was kind of suspicious they shot some of them, so because they didn't want to go back, you know. I never. I remember when when we were captured, we were interrogated by a German officer, and so when he interviewed me, he said, "Muntz, that's a German name, yeah. I come from grandparents came from over there, you know." He recognized that name, Muntz.
Did he say anything to you like, "Why aren't you fighting with us"?
No, he didn't say nothing.
He didn't say anything.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of those Germans didn't want to fight like that either. But
yeah,
either that or, oh my gosh, I got picture book in there, and I've seen a lot of on TV, you know. My golly, if you was in Germany, you was in the service someplace, you know, some kind of the service. Yeah, he had no sympathy for anyone. But whenever the war was over and they was about to get him, he turned chicken and shot himself. You know, he didn't let them take him prisoner because they just tore him pieces. You know.
Wow.
Well, yeah, he committed suicide.
So, how did the German guards treat you when you were a POW?
Guards?
Yeah.
Whenever we was carrying us back, or in the camp.
In the camp.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Have no idea. But they had prison camps all over Germany, and they all had guards. And I expect they're all fell down by now, of course. But you know, there was prison camps practically every place. You know. And I guess they had them all pretty well full too. It's a wonder it's a wonder they didn't let us all starve to death, you know, because they didn't have soup's about all they got, and
Were you
black bread, and that
as
it's better than nothing, though.
sure as the Russians approached, as they got close to your camp? Were you worried the Germans might shoot everyone?
Well, we didn't. Yeah, I mean, you're always that worried, though. Yeah. But they didn't. As you know, I mean, that would have been the easy way out for them, but a lot of things just never understand.
I'm sure if they had done something like that, they would have been assured to have been executed also.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Well, it was kind of strange things, how things happened, you know, and if I had got, you know, got smart or got something, a little girl and a little boy wouldn't be here, you know.
sure.
It would have been all over, but a lot of guys wasn't quite as lucky as I was, but
Coldest winter Germany had, and he in that prison camp he never had a cold.
Wow.
Somebody looked after him.
yeah.
So were there a lot of fellow soldiers that passed away in the camp?
What's that?
Were there other soldiers that you knew that died in the POW camp?
Okay.
Did people die in the POW camp?
I still can't hear you.
Did they pass away? Did they die? Some of the soldiers
Well, I'm
died.
sure. I don't know. I'm sure they did,
Yeah.
especially the older guys. You know, because I don't think they can take it. You know, I'm not. I don't know about that. I couldn't tell you.
Sure.
But I know these old men, they had to guard the whole camp, so, and they was older than the guys that was in the camp, you know, because back then, 37 years old was the limit for Americans at that one time.
So what did you do to pass the time in the camp?
Well, I don't know. We tried to keep warm. The main thing, they did have some old coal stoves in there, to keep the. Because it said it was the oldest, coldest winter in 100 years, and I had to be there.
Oh my gosh.
But they had coal. They had coal, plenty of that, and so they, you know, if they'd have shut the coal off and no heat, we'd all died, you know.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they didn't. Sometimes you wonder. They do one thing and then do me so mean the other way, you know. Yeah.
How often would you get a Red Cross package?
Huh?
How often would you get a Red Cross package?
Red Cross.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. The Red Cross.
Oh, yeah.
How often did you get a package?
Well, that say helped us out. It came in from the what's that? Oh gosh, I know. Come in from the other country, but they did. Yeah, we got them packages. They'd get your a Red Cross package. I don't know how long that went on, but they'd bring them in from the other countries, and it helped out, you know, and you had to know how to ration yourself. You didn't eat the whole box when they got it. You stretched it out till the next box is going to come in, and it helped out the necessities. A lot of course, but that didn't last forever, you know. They quit Switzerland. That's where they came from. Yeah, came across the border, and the Red Cross brought the parcels from there. That's where it was, Switzerland. But my wife, well, she was my wife later, but she and I had a sister, and several people sent packages over, but I never got one. Somebody
really?
else liked them too, you know, and I couldn't blame them. You know, they're hungry, and I never did know whatever happened to those. But they all sent nice big. Well, they had boxes back in them. You could buy it all ready to ship, but I never did get any, you know. I knew they'd send them, and then pretty soon I got my first letter telling Mom I think let's see, it's either my mother or girlfriend that I was taken prisoner and I wasn't killed, and that was quite a relief.
Wow, I bet.
I remember my wife telling about she was a wife worked at a factory in St. Louis making cable, communication cable. Back then you didn't you couldn't, you had to have a cable you know to talk on, and said she was the first one that got the letter, got a note that I wasn't killed, I was just captured. And she got up and said, I got up and shouldn't have done it, but I guess got up and it's dark and run up there and put it in the mailbox. So, yeah.
Tell about Jim marching. Tell about Jim.
Well, Jim was Collins. He was my old buddy. What do you got to marching?
Marching up, going to the prison camp.
Going to the prison camp. Him marching to the prison camp.
Well, we was together all the time.
Yeah, he kept falling and you kept yanking him up. Remember?
Jim kind of would give up.
Oh.
He would give up. I had to keep him going, you know. He kind of got to the point where I guess he wasn't going to make it, you know. But it would come up, and then he after I was married, about two or three, they lived up in Chicago. About at least 2 or 3 weeks later, then he and his girlfriend, they got married, and we always kept in touch then. Yeah.
So
yeah, Jim, I had to push him along. He almost gave up on me, but I kept him going.
So when you were in the camp and you had a Red Cross package,
Yeah.
was there ever any concern that other soldiers would steal it?
Well, I don't think so. I don't know. We pretty well hit them or slept with them for near.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays there would be, but I don't know back then. The boys was all pretty good, all good kids.
That's great.
But probably nowadays that somebody try to steal them off of you. Yeah. I forgot where I guess. I don't know. We might have slept with them. I don't know. I forgot now.
So, what was in the package? A Red Cross.
Yeah, all the necessities, a lot of things that, like if they'd give us something, we could put it. I mean, it was all useful stuff, but you had to learn how to stretch it out, Yeah.
So, when your camp was freed, when was the first American that you saw?
First American.
After you were set free, what did they come into? Did Americans come into the camp? I know the Russians were there, but did any Americans come in?
Went to the river.
Went to the river. Oh, were you marching? Did they march you out of the camp? The Germans? Were you force marched?
Yeah. They'd tell you that you're gonna have to. They'd have to. Some of those guys, they could speak English good as you or me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them had been over here in the United States, and when they went back over there, by God, they caught them and put them in the army. They wouldn't let them come back here. A lot of them could speak good English. Just you had to be careful what you said. You didn't want to say bad things about them, because they just probably bumped you. But I remember that. There used to be they've even had them back before the war started. They used to have them big rallies in New York City, and a lot of Germans was over here. They lived over here for a long time, and then, once they went back over there, old Hitler grabbed them and made soldiers out for him. So that's the way it was.
The German officer handed him his gun and his binoculars.
Yeah.
And give them to Dad. He got them home.
Oh, really?
When they surrendered when they
So
were
they
going across the river because they didn't want the Russians to
So the
catch them.
Germans surrendered to
Right there when they come over going across the river, they had to give their weapons up, so they handed him a gun and binoculars, and
So this was after he was a POW?
Yeah,
Really?
he was trying to get on the way home too.
Wow. So you had Germans surrendering to you?
Oh yeah.
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 When they got to the American side,
Yeah.
they came up and given him.
Yeah. Yeah, I got when the war was over and the Germans, they was wanting to get back to their home. They was giving up to the Americans, and I was down by the river. I was telling you about these boys that could speak all English, several languages. One morning, it was a Sunday morning. Other guys, they call him Frenchy. He could speak French and German and all that. They started picking up all their stuff and heading down towards the river. So by golly, well, I don't want to be left alone, so we got what little things we had, and we didn't know for sure where we was going till finally got down to the river. There was a German officer down there and a bunch of his men along the river waiting to get across. So they wanted to get across the river too, and he was a German officer, and because they said if them Russians catch up with us, Russians are coming down the river, and they don't take no prisoners. Boy, they was tickled to death to get over on the American side, you know. So I remember this one big officer. I don't know what he was, but he pretty well up there. He got off the boat. He had a pair of Carl Zeiss binoculars. Those were expensive. And I just said like that. He just come over and handed them to me, and then I give them to her. And her husband.
Nice. You got it.
I got them home.
That's awesome.
You know, a lot of the time they say, "How did you get them home?" Well, when we came home, we had a duffel bag. So I didn't even tell my buddy what I was doing, but I put them binoculars and a Luger. I got a Luger. Yeah. And I got another Luger. I shouldn't have never done it, but he was a guy over there. I met a guy in the Air Force, and he was in the Air Force, and he didn't have a chance to get a Luger, so I sold him one. Suit too cheap, but anyway, he got it, and I stuck it right above the bottom of a bag, and I'd never told nobody until I got home and was safe to tell them.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't nothing illegal, but they was afraid everybody'd bring stuff home, you know, like that.
Sure.
But that. Hard telling what that binoculars and the Luger'd bring now, but I wanted to get one for both kids, and I think she put her in the safe, didn't you? I told her don't ever hang on to that, quite a keepsake, you know.
Were they pretty good quality?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even look at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot. You want her shooting at you, boy, she hit you.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, she.
So when you got to Le Havre, you got fattened back up, right?
Yeah, well, it took a long time, yeah. And
So-
after I went to Le Havre, they flew me to Le Havre from back in Germany. I can't tell you that I had a place in Germany where they picked up all the POWs,
Yep.
put them in a plane, and quite a ways across there, you know. And
Were you happy?
huh?
Were you happy to be
Why,
back? What was
you'd be
that like?
Crazy if you wasn't there.
Yeah. What was that like though? How did you? I mean, what was that like? Were you just elated?
Well, it just after once I ever got out of there and got to Le Havre, I knew I was safe. You know, didn't have to worry about nothing. They always treated me nice. They put us on a cargo plane. I remember several big plane. Well, it was a big plane then, you know, it wouldn't be now, but we all sitting there together. And, you know, there's a lot of, all those guys have been in Germany, they got them out of there. Took a while to do it, but.
So when you left France, did you take a ship back to the U.S.?
What's that?
Whenever you left France, did you take a ship back to the U.S. did you come back on a troop ship, or did they fly you home?
They flew us from Germany. They flew us from Germany to Le Havre.
But then after Le Havre, how did you get to the U.S.?
Oh, well, from after we got through training at Le Havre, I got a boat. It took about a week to get home on a big, nice ship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, so
Yeah.
did you come into New York City?
Uh,
Did you arrive in New York City?
New York, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was New York. They come into New York. 'Cause I seen the Statue of Liberty come
Yeah.
by that,
Yeah.
and I thought, my gosh, that's the first time I'd ever seen the Statue of Liberty, but I remember coming out. It was in the daytime when I could see it, so.
I'm sure that meant a lot
Yeah.
to you when you came in and you saw the statue.
And then from New York, of course, got on a train and come back down here.
Yeah.
That was the only way you'd travel back in the days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was a long trip, but boy, I was ready to get on.
So did you get off the train here in Greenfield?
No, I think it was St. Louis, and I think Larry Muntz come down and he picked me up, didn't he? I think he did.
Because he wasn't born.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't born yet.
Anyway, that's where I come into St. Louis on the train, and somebody come. I think it was my nephew. I'm not sure.
He couldn't have been. You weren't married.
Anyway, I was ready to come home.
So when you got back to the U.S., were you immediately discharged?
I know. I had to stay in a while.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I had the best job I ever had. My buddy and I, we stayed at the Arlington Hotel down there in Arkansas, down there, and when we come back, we got a 60-day furlough. Well, when our time was up, we had to report back. So we stayed at the Arlington Hotel, and then then I went. Then they decided where they was going to put me. They sent me down to North Little Rock, Arkansas, and my job is to go around every morning, ride the trucks with food in them, ride around to the kitchens, and deliver food to the kitchen. That was the easiest job I ever had. And I'd get done about. I had to get up early and get out there and get started early, and we'd deliver those groceries, and about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we found a place to rent. It was kind of hard. Juanita she would work in St. Louis, but nobody'd hire her because they knew she's going to be out of there pretty quick. They wouldn't hire her. So we found, just luck, this officer had been to this one house, and she rented part of the house out to veterans like that coming home, Well, it took a while, but anyway, she kind of she had real nice stuff, but she kind of hid it, you know, for a while till she found out what kind of people we were. And after she got to know us pretty well, we wouldn't tear up anything. She'd just keep bringing it out, you know, and so we got to be good friends. And she had an old 50 Chevy, black Chevy. So she'd let me drive her, and on weekend we'd drive up to Little Rock and take rides in it, and she just treated us like a baby, you know. And some of the neighbors in a motor yard, I'd get off about 3 o'clock, and I had a lot of time, and nobody ever mowed her yard like that, you know. I'd get out there and do it, didn't charge her a dime. And so she had she had a lot of neighbors. They saw that pretty yard and how clean it was and everything, and it hadn't been that way before. And they said, wonder if they could get me to do that. No, you can't have him. But she was just like a mother to us, you know. Her husband had died, and she was by herself, and her had a sister live with her. But they was good to me. I should have brought that book in. I'll bring maybe some other time you ever come through.
Sure.
I'll get that book out, and I can show you a lot of stuff.
Sure. So when you look back on your time in World War II, how did your service impact you? How did your military service? How did it impact you? Did it change you?
Well, I don't think so. I just appreciate when I got out. You know, I was great. I got out without. I got hit. I got hit right in there. It healed up real good, but it took all winter to piece of shrapnel. So I mean, I could have, you know, and I had one of my old buddies. That morning we was over in Germany trying to take that hill. I had a buddy close to me to him. By God, them Germans shot him, and it went right through his arm right there. And I never did know whatever happened to him. Whether they killed him or whether they took him to the hospital, I don't know. Never did know. But he was from Kansas. I know he was from Kansas, and he was in my squad. But I never did know whether they killed him or whether he got well. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
We cleaned a plate when we were younger, though.
Really?
Your dad has starved to death before.
Sure. Yeah, you probably couldn't get away with much.
He feeds everybody, too. He grows gardens and feeds the green field.
Really?
Yeah, he always has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the older people, he'd take this year's first.
But after you read them, and then you got the whole story, and that's about the whole division was on that ship where we went over and came in through Liverpool. So they went through the same thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He got over 600 birthday cards, so that tells you something about his character.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, for sure. Well,
I can sure remember those. I can remember when we came through over there that the Germans been bombing those cities and they burn them up like, oh my gosh, it's awful, you know.
mm-hmm.
but they were lucky that we had ships that could slip around behind and come in the back way, you know.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that you wanted to mention?
I appreciate you coming over and talking with me, and after you read that, you'll understand just about everything that went on. Now, I don't know where now. That was Jim and I was together, and I don't know how many of them. The other soldiers knew much about their stories, you know, but that'll tell you the whole story. You got time to read it.
Definitely.
I appreciate you coming
Sure.
over.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
And if you ever come through again, you stop in and.
Sure thing. I will definitely do that. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Well,
today,
thank you. Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and stop the camera now. Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, I had a lot more fun than he did, but but we got to see Metz.
Well,
and I brought him some caps and some things back. But we didn't have a whole lot of time, but to see where he could have been, you know, and stuff. But
so has he?
Hey,
ever gone
Doris.
no.
Get a little plastic bag on and give him some of those cookies.
Okay, I will before he leaves. I will before he leaves.
This girl makes these cookies.
Dr. Reed's wife.
Her grandparents live across the hard road over here, and she's almost put herself through college making those fancy cookies and selling them.
Wow.
And she brought me every year. She bring me a pile. They're sugar cookies.
Oh, I love sugar.
But you know,
Okay.
she
Hey,